Today's episode of the Behind the Mic podcast is brought to you by Mental Minute Success Coaching. Do you want to improve and accomplish more in life? Do you want to gain clarity and focus? Well, Mental Minute Success Coaching designs a life, performance, and clears pathways that strengthen emotional skills, boost motivation, and promotes real change for accomplishing your goals. So why wait? Make every minute count by visiting mentalminutes.com now to invest in your success. Mental Minute Success Coaching is a custom creative program that meets all individual needs. Your social, emotional, academic, athletic, and performance life will rise to new heights and change your pattern of success in life forever. Get started now at mentalminutes.com and invest in your success. That's mentalminutes.com. Well, it's Behind the Mic podcast, the very first edition. We welcome everyone who has been listening for the past 6 months or so over on KBC Radio. It's great to have you aboard, a bunch of new listeners, as well as we're kicking off a new platform for the show here online. You can find each and every episode on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you name it. Just search for the podcast section and all of those platforms, and you will come across Behind the Mic. Also, all of our podcasts are uploaded each and every week at BehindTheMicShow.com, our official and new and improved website for the show. Just search for the podcast on the podcast link there, and you'll find each and every one every single week. So much to get into. It's been about a week since we last talked. Super Bowl 53 didn't exactly go down the way we thought it would. I originally predicted 28-21. I thought this was going to be more of a relatively low-scoring game. However, we were all in for a big surprise as no one had 13-3, the lowest total combined in Super Bowl history. So a 13-3 game is what we got. Julian Edelman named the MVP for the Patriots. Really, the true MVP, as a lot of people were talking about in the media this past week, was on the sideline for New England in Bill Belichick. He was really your true MVP. On the field, I thought a couple guys defensively could have gotten the honors as well. They gave it to Julian Edelman, who was pretty deserving in that case. So he takes home the MVP. Look, what can you say at this point? 6 Super Bowl titles for Tom Brady and Bill Belichick since the two of them have been there together. That's unprecedented. Absolutely unprecedented. I thought the game took on more of a turn in which we had seen prior Super Bowls in the past start off low scoring. A lot of us knew that stat about how New England had struggled to score points in the opening quarter of all their Super Bowls. Since Brady and Belichick have been there, they had only scored 3 points. That was last year, Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis against the Eagles. They scored a field goal earlier there. Never had scored a touchdown, and obviously that stat held true as this one was pretty much went down the exact same way. No score, 3-0 at the half. 3-0. Second half adjustments, non-existent as far as the Rams are concerned offensively. A little disappointed in the Sean McVay-led offensive attack. Jared Goff. Look, one of my concerns heading into this game was, would they be able to score some points? Would they be able to sustain that? Because Jared Goff had thrown a lot of passes, had looked good in the postseason here against the Cowboys in the divisional round, in the NFC Championship game, had played well. But I thought he needed to take those performances and take it to another level. And he couldn't do that. He couldn't do that. The spot was too big for him, clearly. He had a lot of time getting the balls out to his receivers. I mean, the 2 passes that he missed, just unbelievable. The Cooks one in his arms, should have had that one. And the one in the middle of the end zone, that lollipop that he threw in there, never stood a chance. Never stood a chance of being able to be completed. That was a tough one. And obviously there's boom, boom. There's 14 points right there potentially they could have had on the board, but it was not to be. 3-3. The fact that it was 3-3 going in the fourth quarter was amazing in itself. We know what happened later on. The Patriots were the only team who made the adjustments in this game. Offensively, at least. They had that one drive in the fourth quarter, about 7 minutes left. They ran the exact same play 3 times in a row to get the only touchdown of the game. Sony Michel, the rookie, scored it. And then it was pretty predictable at that point, based off the fact that the Rams could not score a touchdown to save their life. You knew they weren't going to be able to score. They hadn't done it for about 3.5 quarters for them somehow to muster a drive late in the fourth. You just couldn't see it happening. So in the end, the Patriots eventually iced it with the field goal, 13-3. That was your final, and off they went from there. Got to give credit to the Rams defense. Thought the Rams defense played well, very well in the Super Bowl. Look, if you're going to say you're going to hold the Patriots offense to 13 points total, I'm going to think 9 times out of 10 I'm going to be able to win that game. Almost 10 times out of 10. Not on this day. The Patriots defense was flat out awesome. We had not seen them play with that type of intensity defensively, that type of aggressiveness. Haven't seen it this decade. You saw more of that. This Super Bowl winning Patriots team reminds you a whole lot more of the early 2000s team. The 2003, 2004 teams especially, a lot more ferocious on the defensive side of the ball, generating pressure on quarterbacks. That's what this Super Bowl team reminded me more so of. Generating consistent pressure, not only in the clutch when the game was on the line, but throughout the course of a game, wearing down the opposing team, wearing down the opposing quarterback. Look, they got to Jared Goff. They sacked him 4 times. They batted him around the entire game. It was a classic Bill Belichick defensive game plan. We saw it in Super Bowl 25 against Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills, slowing down that high-powered offense. We had seen it in years past as well. Being able to incorporate that in the Super Bowl is why I think he was really the true MVP of the game. Not even a player, not even on the field, but on the sidelines of Bill Belichick. Wade Phillips, got to give him a lot of credit, the Rams defensive coordinator. He's been known to come up with big game plans, defensive game plans in those type of situations. And he was able to do that once again here in Super Bowl 53. They made a lot of plays. They knocked Brady around. Aaron Donald got pressure on Tom Brady at times. That unit performed very well. They were as advertised. Aaron Donald tag teamed with Ndamukong Suh. These guys had a great season. They lived up to the hype all year long. All the money that was paid out to Aaron Donald at the beginning of the regular season, right after the training camp, well deserved, as he played well. The tough time the Rams had defensively was finding a way to contain Julian Edelman. At this point, though, you can't convince me there's a defense at the league, there's a secondary unit in all of the National Football League who can slow this guy down. Can't do it. He gets off the line. Even if you try and jam him, he gets off the line freely, as free as possibly can be. Gets separation all the time from whoever is guarding him. Always able to generate some type of separation. And let's face it, he was really the only Pats skill position player who was able to get consistent separation throughout the course of the game. Not too many others were able to generate it. So Julian Edelman there got his catches. Big part of what they were able to do offensively. They were at least moving the ball up and down the field on somewhat of a consistent clip. The Rams, just not at all. Brandon Cooks, I think, was very disappointing in this game. I thought he had a lot to prove in this Super Bowl. To me, wasn't able to really prove anything. He was able to prove that Bill Belichick and the Patriots were right to trade him away. That's what he showed me. Got to catch that ball in the end zone. So the Patriots now, we know in the early 2000s they won 3 out of 4 championships. Now they have won 3 out of the last 5, 6 overall, tying the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most championships won in the modern era. When's it going to end? When are they finally going to be able to come up short? When is someone actually going to slow this team down? If you look at the roster, it's still a fairly young football team, generally speaking. Outside of Brady and Belichick, outside a couple of guys on the offense, defense for the most part, relatively young team. I get it that Patrick Mahomes and the young upstart Kansas City Chiefs are right behind him in the AFC. They will be a team that will be right there coming into next season. But boy, oh boy, if you want to get to the Super Bowl, if you want to get to Miami next year in Super Bowl 54, you're going to have to get past the New England Patriots one way or another. It's the same song and dance, and I just don't see it ending anytime soon because we know Brady's coming back. We know Belichick is definitely coming back. They're getting the band back together once again in 2019. It is truly, truly remarkable what they have been able to do during this stretch. I don't think we will ever see it ever again. No one's going to be able to duplicate it. I mean, if you want to be considered the greatest quarterback of all time, you're going to have to win 7 Super Bowls, maybe 8 if Brady gets another. Not a chance. No one's going to be able to do it. So the New England Patriots take home Super Bowl 53. What do you think about the halftime show? Look, it was not the best. I can go through, I can count at least a handful of Super Bowl halftime shows that were more impressive over the years. Bruce Springsteen, Prince, Michael Jackson, Bruno Mars. I can go on and on. Didn't think it was the best halftime. America the Beautiful at the beginning of the game, the pregame festivities I thought were awesome. The 2 girls from Georgia singing America the Beautiful, that was right on point. They did a great job. Gladys Knight with a national anthem. She killed it as well. The halftime left a little bit to be desired. Some people are already talking about next year in Miami. Should they have Pitbull? Should they have J-Lo? Could probably only be an upgrade from what we saw in Super Bowl 53 at the half. So this NFL season now is in the books. We look forward to next season when football comes back again. But the big difference this offseason is we have something to fill the void here, at least through April. That being the new Alliance of American Football League, officially kicking off this weekend. I got a chance earlier today to catch up with Jeff Goldberg. He's the team reporter for the San Diego Fleet. 8 teams across mainly the southwest and southeast regions of the country will have teams. San Diego Fleet. There's a team in San Antonio in which the Fleet will be playing their first game this weekend. They got a big contract with a bunch of different networks. CBS is going to be airing a couple of games here on Saturday and Sunday. You have the NFL Network providing coverage as well, in addition to Turner, Bleacher Report. I think they're going to have a very well put together inaugural season. I said before, I think potentially maybe the XFL has a better chance to last longer when they reboot the XFL in 2020. But with all the star-powered names that this new Alliance League has really brought on here with head coaches. San Diego Fleet head coach Mike Martz. The old ball coach Steve Spurrier with Orlando. Mike Singletary. Mike Riley, you name it. They have stockpiled a lot of big-time names. Led, of course, by Charlie Ebersol, Dick Ebersol's son, who co-founded the original XFL in 2001, of course, with Vince McMahon from the WWE. Charlie Ebersol has had a chance to learn a lot over the years, obviously, from his dad. He's kind of teaming up here with Bill Polian, of course, former executive front office, the Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts. Got a lot of guys, a lot of former NFL players who've just retired within the last 5 to 10 years or so who are going to be a part of this, if not from a coaching perspective, an executive perspective. Troy Polamalu, Hines Ward, a couple of former Pittsburgh Steelers there will be in the mix here. I'm fascinated to see how this league plays out in year number 1. How they treat replay is going to be fun to watch. Also, no kickoffs. I talked about that with Jeff earlier today. He thinks the fascinating thing is going to be how they are actually going to go forward without kickoffs and onside kick opportunities. We know the NFL, it's brutal to try an onside kick now. The chances of converting it are so slim. They've always been slim, but how they have tweaked the rules with the onside kick over the last year or two has made it just that much harder to try and convert in those situations. Jeff Goldberg is excited about what they're going to be able to do with opportunities if you want to try and convert an onside kick. Basically, you're going to have to go for it on your own 28-yard line. It'll be a fourth down conversion type of situation, a 4th and 12. If you can convert, you get to keep the football. That's compelling. That is really, really compelling theater to watch and see how that one goes down. So we have the new Alliance of American Football League kicking off this weekend. It's a good way to carry us over with the NFL season coming to an end. It's the first Behind the Mic podcast. Brad Dalius talking you through the world of sports. Going to come back. I'm going to get into a little NBA discussion because we got a lot going on right now in the National Basketball Association. How teams are matching up. We have the All-Star game coming up in Charlotte as well. We'll break it all down. It's the Behind the Mic podcast. NBA All-Star Weekend coming up next week. February 17th is the All-Star game there in Charlotte, North Carolina. Team LeBron versus Team Giannis Antetokounmpo. We know the Lakers did not acquire Anthony Davis at the trade deadline, but LeBron did make sure that he got Anthony Davis on his team as he wound up taking him with the first pick. Giannis took Steph Curry. I like the format. I talked about this a little while ago, a couple months ago at least, I think here on the show, that just kind of going across different All-Star game formats and different sports, I like something like this. I liked, for example, when the NFL did this, when they moved away from the NFC versus the AFC, and they were able to get just a mixed bag of players on two teams going in against each other. That was different. That was compelling. I liked what the NBA has done here in the last couple of All-Star games, doing something similar. What was the big knock when it was just traditionally Eastern Conference versus Western Conference? They played no defense. That was the big knock. Too much offense. We had games 155 to 152. People were like, this is too much offense. We like it, but not to that extent. So what do? They mix it up now. A little bit better. The results were better. The All-Star game, highly, highly interesting last year when it was played in Los Angeles. I'm looking forward to that drama unfolding again this year, this time in Charlotte, which we didn't know if it would be there just a couple of years ago. They were able to get things back in order and get it back to where they had originally selected it. Like I said, Anthony Davis, he's not going to be part of the Lakers just yet. I'm going to talk about that in a second or two. But he will play for Team LeBron in this NBA All-Star game. Now, the trade deadline did come and pass. A couple notable things for me. Number one, the Sixers shipped the former number one overall pick, Markelle Fultz, away from the team. They finally got rid of him and shed his contract, and I think it's going to work out good for them overall. It seems like they're finally ditching the process, trying to win now. I think the problem for Philadelphia is trying to compete with a Boston Celtics and a Toronto Raptors team who I believe are clearly better than them. Look, last year the Sixers got absolutely smacked around by a Boston Celtics team who was not healthy by any stretch of the imagination. There was no Kyrie Irving. There was no Gordon Hayward in the postseason last year for the Celtics. And they still knocked off Philly in 5 games in the conference semis. What's going to happen this time if they meet each other with Boston fully healthy? Do you think the Sixers are still a player or two off? They're still, whether that be acquiring them via free agency or the draft or just more so developing the guys they already have, I still think they're a little ways off. But good move in the right direction to shed the contract of Markelle Fultz. Now, for the Lakers, I think they're in trouble here coming up. We know they're going to have to acquire a bigger name player to be able to make noise in the Western Conference. Because the Golden State Warriors, hate to break it to you, are not leaving. They're not going away anywhere. Barring any type of problems with health, they're going to be there. They're going to be able to get through the postseason. Boogie Cousins obviously has been a huge lift to them. They're going to have a lot of success here in the postseason. So the Lakers without an Anthony Davis, not able to acquire him. Now you got a whole bunch of young guys on their team who are listening to the news media. They're reading the clippings. And they're saying, wait a minute. I want to be they're trying to trade me away. Now, if you had a veteran team of guys who had been through those wars, they know what that's like to have the name thrown around. These guys being young, the Kyle Kuzmas of the world, the Lonzo Ball, the Brandon Ingrams. By the way, Lonzo Ball saying he doesn't want to play for the New Orleans Pelicans or play in that New Orleans market. To me, that's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to hear that from a player within his first couple years in the league. It's unbelievable. But the fact that if you're the Lakers, you basically just got schooled by a New Orleans Pelicans franchise that is in somewhat of a disarray state right now, where they're owned by the same people who own the New Orleans Saints, the Benson family. You have NFL people essentially running the NBA team there in New Orleans. We know about Dill Demps and his just ability to easily throw out guys, easily ready to pull the trigger on different trades. And this is another one. And did you hear what David Stern had said? Someone pulled this up the other day, what he had said, I believe it was in 2017 in regards to Dill Demps. I'm paraphrasing here. Basically, David Stern had said that Dill Demps doesn't really know what he's doing as the executive, the general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans, would be essentially willing to pull the trigger on any type of trade. They wanted to trade Chris Paul for guys like Louis Scola and others. And at the time, of course, the New Orleans Hornets were being owned by the NBA as the team was in the process of being sold to a new owner. David Stern at the time said, no, we can do better. We can do better for a trade. We all know how that played out then, later on down the line, with Chris Paul eventually being traded away to the Clippers instead of the Lakers. Laker fans to this day still bitter about that one. But I digress from that. The Lakers, Luke Walton, I think, is in big-time trouble here because you can almost envision and see how things are going to go throughout the rest of the year here for this Lakers team. You can almost see how things are going to progress out. I mean, right now, they're a 500 ball club. If they get into the postseason, they're probably looking at playing Golden State. They're not winning that series. They're not winning that series right now. Lakers are currently occupying the 10th spot in the Western Conference. You have Sacramento and the Clippers ahead of them by a couple games. The Lakers just need to get into position, like I said. If they were even to get back to 8, they're probably looking at facing the number 1 seed in the conference. That's a tough spot to be in. The gap between 1 and 2 at the top of the Western Conference, Golden State, Denver, just a game and a half. But the problem, and you can illustrate it in just the notion that most people couldn't even name the starting 5 for the Denver Nuggets right now. That's a problem. That's a problem for the league. The ratings have been down. Oklahoma City, you just look at the potential competition in Golden State. OKC, not thrilled about that. That franchise, in my estimation, has plateaued with Russell Westbrook. They're not going to be able to get much further than a conference semis. I don't believe they're talented enough to get to a conference final. You have Portland, who they've been able to play well this year with Damian Lillard. They played some good basketball at times in spurts, not so much at other points of the season. They're up and down. Houston, I believe, just they are what they are. What James Harden is doing right now, although historically great, the crazy thing about what he's doing is it's not going to be able to be showcased because where they're going eventually, how he's playing right now, everything he's taking to the game, he's able to take and play the way he is. And that's just to get this team to where they're at now, which is 5th in the Western Conference. Just everything he's doing now is just to get them there. Once they get to the playoffs, are they going to be good enough to beat a Golden State? I don't think so. Are they going to be good enough to beat a Denver? Probably not. I don't know if they're better than Oklahoma City. I can name 3-4 teams above the Houston Rockets right now in the Western Conference. This is the big problem for Houston. They have this great player who's playing out of his mind just to get them to where they're at right now. So ratings, a big-time problem right now with the NBA. Again, I think they're going to get a spike with the All-Star weekend coming up. The festivities there. It's intriguing. Kind of takes an eye off of all the drama we've been hearing about recently with the potential trade rumors. Anthony Davis, Lakers, Sixers, Boston potentially being in the mix. Takes the attention away from all that, puts it solely on All-Star weekend festivities. So I think the NBA gets a little spike with that. But again, looking ahead to potential playoff matchups, do you think the league really wants Portland, Utah in the first round? That's a tough matchup. That's challenging. They're not going to want to see that. So once again, Anthony Davis stays put in New Orleans. They will now play him. They have been sitting him for the last couple of games, last couple of weeks before the break, the All-Star, the trade deadline. He's now going to play, and they're going to keep him through the rest of the season. I think that clearly points in the direction of the Boston Celtics as the potential landing spot for Davis once we get into July. It just makes sense. Boston has a whole lot more that they can offer New Orleans. A lot more young, exciting pieces. The potential also to acquire, potentially, Jason Tatum, I think intrigues New Orleans. Look, the Celtics just straight up have better players and just a better package overall that they could offer New Orleans than what the Lakers could have. I mean, the Lakers really, when you start offering 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different draft picks, I mean, how desperate can you really be? It's amazing how when the Kristaps Porzingis trade happened, I didn't hear about it before it actually went down. Nothing came out. Lakers are in a tough spot now going forward. This is all handled the wrong way as far as stuff getting leaked out to the media. Who's going to be able to acquire who? Who potentially was going to be put in the trade? What were the pieces going to be? Potential draft picks. I mean, cap relief. My goodness. I believe the Lakers are concerned about trying to acquire a big-time free agent because of what happened last year with Paul George opting to stay in OKC. Because of a Kawhi Leonard potentially going elsewhere. Remember, when they signed LeBron James, I said that it would be a bonus if they were able to win one championship throughout his contract, throughout his tenure in LA. If they were able to win one, that would be a bonus. It's going to take a lot of work for them to get that one championship. We'll see how things play out. But Anthony Davis, the prize acquisition, it's looking like he's going to be a Pelican on 2 July at least. And I believe, unless we hear otherwise, he will be a Boston Celtic. It's the Behind the Mic podcast, the very first one here. Don't forget, this episode, you can find it at BehindTheMicShow.com by clicking on the podcast link tab. You can also find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Spotify as well. A lot of different platforms. We'll be doing these each and every week here. We'll be releasing them. We'll bring on different guests. We'll have a lot of fun with it. Great way to talk about what's going on in the world of sports. Once again, today's episode is being brought to you by Mental Minute Success Coaching. Do you want to improve and accomplish more in life? Do you want to gain clarity and focus? Well, Mental Minute Success Coaching designs a life, performance, and clear pathways that strengthen emotional skills, boost motivation, and promotes real change for accomplishing your goals. So why wait? Make every minute count by visiting mentalminutes.com now to invest in your success. Mental Minute Success Coaching is a custom creative program that meets all individual needs. Your social, emotional, academic, athletic, and performance life will rise to new heights and change your pattern of success in life forever. Get started now at mentalminutes.com and invest in your success. That's mentalminutes.com. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'll talk to you next week. Have a great weekend. Keep living the dream.